We are absolutely destroying these horrible regulations.
I haven't seen anything like the regulatory reductions that have taken place.
Let's cut the red tape.
Who is in favor of regulations that aren't working?
Bye-bye. We have undertaken a historic effort to massively reduce job-crushing regulations. And we're imposing a new rule which mandates that for every one new regulation, 2 old regulations must be eliminated.
Donald Trump promised at the beginning of his presidency to slash regulations, and after his first year, he's delivered more than almost anybody predicted. Washington's regulatory reformers have infiltrated the halls of power and are attempting to engineer the most ambitious pruning of the executive branch in over 3 decades. It's a bright spot in a presidency that has otherwise been the opposite of libertarian: trade wars, travel bans, and big spending increases. Trump has appointed real reformers to carry out his deregulatory agenda. Betsy DeVos at Education, Rick Perry at Energy, Scott Gottlieb at the Food and Drug Administration, Ajit Pai at the FCC. One of the most influential administrators is Naomi Rao, Trump's appointee to oversee cost-benefit analyses for the entire regulatory juggernaut, who came to the White House after founding the Center for the Study of the Administrative State at George Mason University.
I think that there are a lot of very strongly reform-minded people who have come into the administration, right, and occupying a number of the senior political appointments. And they're very committed to, regulatory reform and rolling back some of these burdens that have been imposed over the past, 5, 10, 15 years.
So what has Trump deregulated? In his first year, the president signed 15 regulatory repeals via the Congressional Review Act, or 14 more times than the law had been used the previous 2 decades. Gone are Obamacare's individual mandate, the EPA's Clean Power Plan, and the Department of Education's kangaroo court-style guidance on campus sexual assault. In addition to the 2-for-1 executive order, Trump has also required agencies to impose an aggregate regulatory cost each year of 0.
The never-ending growth of red tape in America has come to a sudden, screeching, and beautiful halt.
We're not just, going to eliminate some small, insignificant rules, but we also have to have a negative regulatory cost budget, which is what we had for 2017. And we went even below that. And I think it's the first time since at least we've been keeping records that there's been a year like that. We're also encouraging the agencies to look at deregulation, not just from the numbers side. Many agencies are peeling back guidance documents or streamlining paperwork burdens. And all of that, I think, is having an impact.
The free market enthusiasts at the Competitive Enterprise Institute, a Washington, D.C. think tank, have been tallying new regulations annually for the past 25 years. In 2017, they found the administration cut the number of pages in the Federal Register by more than 1/3. And the 3,281 new rules amounted to the lowest count since records began being kept in the mid-1970s.
I haven't seen personally anything like the regulatory reductions that have taken place.
The Competitive Enterprise Institute's Clyde Wayne Crews is already calling Donald Trump the least regulatory president of all.
Trump has gone after, say, for example, the Waters of the United States rule.
EPA's so-called Waters of the United States rule is one of the worst examples of federal regulation.
It's welcoming to see the FCC turn back the so-called net neutrality rule. I'm impressed and unimpressed at the same time. I love what has happened, and I want it to continue, but to really address all of that, you've got to get Congress to act.
In other words, the executive branch can rearrange the scope and process of enforcement, but only legislators can repeal the underlying laws. The million-dollar question is, how much impact will the Trump administration's regulatory tweaks have on individual industries and the overall economy?
So by our very kind of conservative internal estimates, we estimate that the regulations that we've pulled back are saving more than $8 billion. And maybe that sounds small, but when you think of it in the context that the cost of regulations increases every year, I think it's actually pretty impressive. I think another number that's important is that we are revisiting or have postponed over 1,500 rules that were on the agenda. And, some of those rules may end up going forward, but I think it demonstrates the magnitude of what we're reconsidering.
Is this the first real challenge to the kind of automatic growth of the regulatory state that we've seen in a solid generation here?
I think so, yes. We've done more in our first year than any president since we've been keeping records.
the numbers that have been reduced in the Trump administration are pretty significant. When he rolled back or withdrew or withheld 1,500 of Obama's regulations, they're not all significant regulations by any stretch, but it's a start. And remember, Obama said, I have a pen and phone, and if Congress doesn't act, we can go around Congress and act. Trump has a pen and phone too, any president does, and it can be used within the rule of law to advance liberty rather than curtail it.
Though Trump met his target last year, can he do it again? Or has the easy stuff already been plucked?
I think in 2018, he's going to have a much tougher time. The job of rolling back 2 for 1 when you're acting alone as president and you can't make law on your own, the barrier that you run into is you run out of low-hanging fruit.
So how much can you do now? You got 2 for 1 in place. I know you want to try to do 3 for 1 next year, but how much latitude does the executive branch have?
There's plenty of bad regulation that's still out there that we can work on rolling back. To really get at sort of the core of the regulatory state, you're going to need statutory reform.
The House has passed a series of reform bills that focus on the process by which the executive branch makes its rules. These have names like Searching for and Cutting Regulations That Are Unnecessarily Burdensome Act, or SCRUB, the Regulations from the Executive in Need of Scrutiny Act, or REINS, and so on. All are currently languishing in the Senate, where the slim Republican majority includes senators who've expressed concern that deconstructing the administrative state will have a negative impact on the health and safety of Americans.
Now, your progressive friends will say that what you're doing is making the world more dangerous. What's your basic response to that framework?
And I think Congress has, through a mass of statutes, ensured essentially that we live in a very highly regulated society. And there's a limit to how much the executive branch can do to undo that. And we're not looking to undo health and safety protections that are required by law. By definition, the regulations that we're turning back are not working for the public.
So can libertarians expect more progress in the midterm election year of 2018?
To the extent regulatory reforms happen in a year like this one that's going to be so contentious and already is, I think it would be something lesser. It would be something on the order of more disclosure of regulations. I know there's some bipartisan support for that. But sadly, in terms of rolling back regulations this year, Trump is pretty much on his own.
What's in front of you?
We want to reduce the cumulative regulatory burdens on the American people as much as possible. The agencies now really have to go back and think about which of their regulations are no longer working. It's a good government kind of policy. I mean, who is in favor of regulations that aren't working?